Hansal Mehta has a thing for true stories and Gujarati protagonists. After Harshad Mehta in 2020 Scam 1992, the focus of his new Netflix series Scoop is intrepid crime reporter Jagrati Pathak. The series is an adaptation of journalist Jigna Vora's autobiographical book Behind Bars in Baikala about how she was falsely accused of murder and spent almost a year in jail. In Scoop, Jigna becomes Jagrati Pathak, played by an earnest Karishma Tanna. The year is 2011. It's a simpler time when newspapers mattered. The front page mattered and TV news wasn't the tragic joke it is today. Jagrati is the ear-to-the-floor hotshot crime reporter at the Eastern Age, whose stories frequently dominate the front page with exclusive after exclusive. But in this world driven by bylines and headlines, crime journalism is merely a race of who'll break the story first, rather than who's telling the whole story responsibly. It also helps Jagrati's career that JCP Shroff of the Mumbai police has a soft corner for her. Shroff is played by Harman Baweja. Yeah, you heard me, Harman Baweja. When he first appeared on screen, I legitimately wrote in my notes, holy shit, is that Harman Baweja? And he's bloody good here. You feel like you're watching a seasoned character actor. Speaking of performances that leap off the screen, Jagrati's editor at the Eastern Age is Imran, played by a show-stealing Mohammad Zishan Ayub. It may well be my favorite performance of this year. Wary, weathered, beaten but not defeated, Zishan crafts Imran as the rare voice for truth who continues to fight the good fight despite knowing that he's probably losing the war. After a fellow journalist Jaydev Sen, played by Prasenjit Chatterjee, is killed by the Chhota Rajan gang, Jagrati's investigation into the murder uncovers a strange nexus between the underworld and the Mumbai police. Before she can get to the bottom of it, Jagrati is arrested and falsely accused of that murder. The star reporter becomes a victim of the very system she helps propagate, as she becomes the subject of an ugly media trial. As you might expect from a Hansal Mehta directed series, there's no lack of sincerity or integrity on offer here. And one of the best things about Scoop is how creators Hansal Mehta and Mrunmayee Lagu explore the ethical rot within the sorry state of journalism. In one scene in a hospital, we see tabloid journalists trying to take pictures of a dead body. When they're scolded and told to show some respect, one of them simply says, "If we show respect, sir, people will just change the channel." Later on, we see Imran reflect on the state of the media circus around him, saying, "It used to be that good journalism was seen as controversial, but now, if you're controversial, it's considered good journalism." Or my personal favorite, a scene in a later episode where Imran is being pressured by his higher-ups to stop running stories that criticize the government, which he responds to by dropping a famous quote saying, "If someone says it's raining outside and another person says it's dry, it's not your job to quote them both. Your job is to look out of the fucking window." Goosebumps. Honestly, I could listen to Mohammad Zishan Ayub lecture me about ethics all damn day. Like this, there's a great deal of maturity and wisdom within Scoop. I felt like I was watching a show for grown-ups. But on the flip side, the writing from Mrunmayee Lagu, Murat Trivedi and Karan Vyas is dense, sophisticated and keenly observed more than it is particularly gripping or urgent. The narrative here is drowning in detail rather than drama. So focused are the makers on authenticity that early on, I struggled to find a sense of dramatic juice to hold on to. There's a bluntness and dryness I just couldn't punch through. In contrast, Scam 1992 was bursting with greed, ambition and personality. And Scoop too has no lack of sizzle in its subject matter. It's a story of crime, corruption and conspiracies, but you don't feel that zing. There's almost an aversion from the makers to ramp up the drama and lean into that sizzle. In one scene during a news debate, the head of a sellout scandalous news channel, played by Tanishta Chatterjee, defends her brand of journalism by talking about how if you don't engage the audience in a particular way, then the story you're trying to tell won't hit them in the way you'd hope. Part of me wishes that the minds behind this series also heeded that advice. And yes, I realize I'm siding with the bad guys to make my point. Scoop is also not the easiest thing to follow. Characters keep assaulting us with names and facts, and I swear to you, I still fully couldn't explain the complexities of the Mumbai police criminal underworld nexus that this show is talking about. It's the kind of show that heavily relies on that Netflix pause and rewind button so you can rewatch certain scenes and understand the significance of what's being said. As we get scene after scene of fancy journalists sitting in cafes and offices talking about cover-up after cover-up while we try and keep up. I similarly had a tough time with the structure of the show. Scoop is not entirely an investigative thriller series, nor is it a deep dive into journalism show. It's kind of a bit of both, but also sort of a biopic about Jagrati and what she goes through, which is fine. A show isn't good because it's easily defined. But here, changing tracks every 2 episodes feels jutted. The crime and newsroom and prison portions feel like 3 different worlds rather than one cohesive whole. Like Scam 1992, Scoop is also the kind of series where the central character is the show. And while I enjoyed Karishma Tanna in the role, I couldn't help but wonder what another actor could have done to uplift this material. Jagrati is an intriguing figure, an opportunistic, hard-working woman in a man's world, but here, what happens to her is more captivating than Jagrati herself. It's her predicament, not personality, that grips us. Plot trumps character. Thankfully, a Hansal Mehta show is always a treat of casting, and elsewhere Scoop doesn't disappoint, with a number of standout performances that bring this story to life. An endearing Devin Bhojani as Jagrati's uncle, Tanmay Dhanania as Jagrati's resentful professional rival, Pushkar, Asim Hatangadi as the honest journalist trying to find the truth, Inayat Sood as the easily corrupted cub reporter, Jaimini Pathak as Jagrati's defense lawyer, to name but a few. By the end of Scoop, you feel the hopelessness of fighting for justice, of Jagrati's grueling fight with the media, police and courts to clear her name, and how the truth doesn't really matter when the entire system turns on you. By the end, despite the aspects of the series that didn't quite come together for me, all I could really remember and dwell on were the show's triumphs, and all I could feel was the power of its story and the weight of its cause, of the against all odds unending battle for honest journalism, the snail-paced desperate crawl for justice within a fractured judicial system, and above all, the painstaking effort and humanity of the honest few trying to combat the impact of the corrupt, soulless many, and ultimately the price they're made to pay for it. You can watch Scoop on Netflix. Quick announcement, by popular demand, Film Companion has relaunched our course on the art of critiquing films, taught by some of the best of the best. You can now learn how and why we do what we do on YouTube while lounging at home. You can find a link to the course in the description below.